Another surprise pick within the top 10 was OKC drafting Josh Giddey. I thought this was a great pick. I've been vocal about me being super high on Josh Giddey. Looking at his game, he reminds me a lot of Joe Ingles. Also, he has Nicholas Batum, but watching his game more and watching this other player yesterday, I think he's a taller Ricky Rubio. And Ricky Rubio, he had all this hype coming out of Spain because he was so great in FIBA. But I looked at his FIBA stats, and his FIBA stats were pretty horrible. He hit his field goal percentage, his three-point percentage, his points per game weren't all that.
What was it?
It was like 38% from the field.
So Giddey.
Giddey's not 30% from the field.
What is he, like 40?
He's 44% from the field. Yeah, Giddey's a way better player than Rubio at that same age.
Bad clip from 3.
Ricky Rubio.
Facts.
Ricky Rubio never averaged double digits overseas when he played for the EuroLeague.
So what was the hype?
The hype was his FIBA run. He had a couple good games. Josh Giddey, to me, is kind of like a 6'9" Rubio, but I think he's more polished at the same age. And Josh Giddey has a certain mindset and toughness to him. He has an edge to him, and that's what I like the most. He averaged 11 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists in the NBL. And when you compare his stats to LaMelo in the NBL shot 37% from the field. Josh Giddey was at 42%. LaMelo 25% from 3. Josh Giddey was at 29% from 3. LaMelo shot great in the NBA. Whether you want to attribute that to him just improving in the offseason or him being more comfortable with the NBA rims or whatever you want to attribute it to, I think Josh Giddey can do the same thing based on his work ethic. He's already a high IQ player. He's one of the best passers in this draft, and he gets to his spots and he can finish with both hands around the basket. I think the question marks around Giddey are kind of uncalled for. People are drafting up these false scouting reports because they haven't seen him play. And between Kuminga, Bucknight, and Giddey, they're all 3 different players. Bucknight, you get the scoring, you don't get playmaking. With Kuminga, you just get a super raw, talented guy, but he might not pan out. With Giddey, you get the most NBA-ready prospect who played against pros, played well, and was the best player on his team, and it has the most potential outside of Kuminga. And that's why I think this was the right pick.
You said a lot. You said a lot. You know, like you keep doing this whole LaMelo Giddey thing, and I'm really getting a little bit annoyed that you keep doing that because you keep comparing them as if they're the same prospect when they're not. Why do you keep doing that?
They're not the same prospect, but the shooting splits for LaMelo was a major concern in the NBL.
Okay.
It was a major concern.
But I don't think
and Josh Giddey shot better than LaMelo.
Yes, but I think the shooting splits are not. That's not only Josh Giddey's only concern. You know, I think his frame is a concern. I think his defense is a concern.
LaMelo's defense wasn't a concern?
Nah, I think it was.
Yes, it was.
No, I'm saying like, okay. I think it was a concern. But LaMelo was just such a different prospect in viewers' eyes that you keep doing this comparison. It's very tough. Like, but nonetheless, Oklahoma City, I think they made the right pick in the span of getting SGA some playmaking help. I think with SGA being at Oklahoma City, he is a lot of the playmaking on his shoulders, a lot of the scoring on his shoulders, and he had to do a lot for that team. I think with Josh Giddey coming in, that relieves some of the pressure off him. So I think that helps. They obviously want to help SGA, and they want to get this team in the winning. So I think that's good. My thing is, I don't know where he's going to play because, you know, they picked up a lot of guards. They picked up Trey Mann. They got Giddey. They got Dortz. They got SGA. They got Theo Maledon. They got Ty Jerome. You know, I'm just throwing out guards that they have. You know, Josh Giddey being 6'8", he can play the 3. I don't think he's suited to play the 3 right now. I would probably slot him at the 2, have Dortz at the 3. But like I said before, you know, getting SGA some playmaking help, he had to do so much for that team last year. And granted, it didn't translate to full wins, but they were 16-19 or 13-16, I forgot. But they were, 3 games under 500. They were still very competitive with SGA doing most of the bulk of the work. So I think Josh Giddey coming in is going to really open up the court more because of his playmaking, and really is going to help this team and help SGA so where he can take plays off because he does so much for this team. So I think this was, it was surprising for me, but I think looking at it, going over it, looking at it, I think it was a good pick because it does help my boy SGA. So this was a good pick. I like it.
LaMelo is 6'7", 180. Josh Giddey, he just grew to 6'9". He's 6'9" now. He's 6'9", 205.
LaMelo was never viewed as a small forward. Josh Giddey has been viewed as a small forward. That's my difference. Like when LaMelo was coming out, we never viewed him. None of us never viewed him as a small forward.
Absolutely.
Everybody thought him as a guard. That's
but
why
we also viewed LaMelo as you can slot him 1 through 3
on offense.
Definitely, but I think you're looking way too deep into the positions of it because just because you are the 3 on paper doesn't mean you're guarding the 3 on defense.
That's true.
There's many ways to hide, so I think you're looking way too deep into the positions. For example, you mentioned I'd slot Dort at the 3 and the Giddey at the 2. That's really not relevant because regardless of whatever position they're slotted in, Dort is going to guard the best player on the opposing team. Regardless if the best player is a 1 or he's a 3, or Dort's going to guard the best player on that team.
That's true.
That's why I think Giddey.
But if the best player,
Giddey right now is viewed as a point guard. But for me, he can play 1 through 3. I can have him out there with Shea, and Shea can. They're interchangeable because Shea can play the 1 or he can play the 2. So it's really interchangeable. You can have Giddey at the 1, Shea at the 2, or Shea at the 1, Giddey at the 2, or Giddey at the 3. It's interchangeable at this point.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're looking at it like that, and I get that part, but really you do need positions because certain positions require a certain amount of strength or a certain guy to be at that. Like if Josh Giddey, like I said Josh Giddey at the 2, Dort's at the 3 because a lot of 3s are a lot more physical and a lot more stronger. I wouldn't want Josh Giddey guarding my 3 because he's not his frame. Even if the 2, like Dort's, say for example, okay, perfect example. Say, for example, they play Boston. JT and JB are the 2s and the 3s. Dortz can only guard one of them. You're going to have to put Giddey on one other guy. Who are you going to put him on? JT or JB? JB's stronger than JT.
You probably put him on JB, though.
Yeah, but it's like he's going to get bullied.
Not really, because at that point, if you're OKC, you say, okay, this is the matchup. We're putting Dort on one of them. We put Shea on the other.
Shea?
Yes, if you think Giddey's that much of a liability on defense, you adjust and you put Shea on the other guy.
That's one of his weaknesses. So yeah,
I mean, yeah, but LaMelo out of NBL, his weakness was defense as well. His effort, Giddey's effort is not into question, and even at his frame,
worse, though.
Even
I
if
agree.
if
that
you're
is worse.
If you're 6'9" and you're 205 pounds and he's only 18 years old, he's the 3rd youngest player drafted in the last 5 to 6 years.
Okay.
He's going to grow more into his body. He's only 18 years old.
You say that, and then we look at KD, and he's still 6'11" and skinny. It's like, and then we look at Jared Allen. Like, you can't just assume.
Jared Allen got bigger.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's still a skinny frame. You can't just assume because he's 18, he's going to grow into this frame.
So Lonzo Ball, from rookie year to now, he's
it
definitely
happened to Lonzo. It happened
up.
to Lonzo, but I'm saying you can't assume Josh Giddey's going to do that.
No, I can assume it because he's 18 years old. He's only a teenager.
You can't assume because not everybody's body works that way. You can't assume he's going to grow into that body.
Yeah, but even with the frame, it doesn't really affect your strength. You can still be strong and still have a deceiving frame.
That is true.
All right, I guess I'll give my opinion here. I don't believe it was a reach. I feel as if, like you mentioned already, you can interchange SGA, you can entertain Giddey. I just don't want to reiterate what you guys were saying because you guys kept going back and forth, so I'll make it quick. An underrated part of his game is that he gets rebounds. He averaged over 7 rebounds international. And I went to go look at, LaMelo's stats international compared to Giddey's. LaMelo averaged 7 more points than him. You're 100% right. Shot worse than he did. That being said, the assist to rebound ratio was pretty similar. So where where I was kind of scrutinizing Giddey for his field percentage, he just took less shots, and that's where LaMelo definitely thrives. But in an offense where he's not going to need to be the focal point and be the primary scorer, the pick's understandable. The only reason why it doesn't make sense to me is that you bring in Trey Mann. You drafted 2 point guards when you already have a point guard type player in SGA. You drafted one in Giddey. So now you're kind of losing me and why you selected Giddey, especially when you have a guy like Dort who's already playing that small forward position. my logic behind them drafting Giddey over a guy like Kuminga was that they have Dort there, who's a great defensive player who has shown flashes on offense.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So then you draft Trey Mann. Now you lose me in the thought process behind that. But with Giddey's game, it definitely has room for improvement. A 6'9" frame, over 200-pound type player. He's definitely an athlete. It's just a matter of how is he going to evolve offensively. That's my only question about him. But for what he's going to do for this upcoming season, which is basically feed SGA for him to get better shots off, I like it a lot, especially with OKC being a rebuilding type team, a development type team. Giddey's going to benefit from that tremendously.
I hated OKC picking Trey Mann.
Yeah, I don't get it, man.
Because I think Trey Mann has star potential, and he's not going to reach that with OKC. I think Trey Mann is going to be to OKC what Reggie Jackson was to them in the early 2010s.
Okay.
To that OKC team coming off the bench, being that spark plug. I think that's what Trey Mann is going to be. Like I said, I think Giddey can slot wherever, 1 through 3. He can slot in whichever position because he's a positionless player. And at 6'9", if he does add more muscle, if he does in 2-3 seasons get to 215, 220, we could be talking about a guy who can now play 1 through 4. So Giddey has a lot of potential, and I'm really excited to see what his ceiling is going to be.
Do you guys see a situation where they throw out a SGA, Trey Mann, Dort's, Giddey lineup?
Giddey play the 4? That's interesting because I was thinking it, but I'm not too sure if his defensive liabilityness. You know what I'm trying to say?
I mean, at that point, they'll just be sacrificing offense for defense because Trey Mann isn't that good defensively either.
For sure.
So
it depends which scheme they want to draw up. If they want to be known as an offensive type team, then you go and you put Giddey at the 4. But I'm more the type of person that needs that too, and I'm more of a guy who wants an all-around type game. I don't want one thing or the other. I'm not going to say we saw that with Houston because obviously, they had a guy in PJ Tucker, Clint Capella, but obviously the complete opposite spectrum. They had Harden and CP3, but I just don't want a repeat of that. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.